Hi, if you're tuning in, welcome. Maiden Voyage of Astro Mimi. This is a channel about the historical, generational side of astrology, which is focusing on things that cohorts, peers, whole groups of people every 20 years live together. What I mean by that is the slower moving planets of Pluto and Neptune, and to a certain extent Uranus, are really what tell us the hand that we are going to be dealt with on a societal level. The Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Mars tells us what we're going to do about it and when. So if cash is king, procrastination is queen, because this is probably 4 years in the making. To anyone who's ever done a YouTube channel, and I have watched thousands of hours, kudos to you, because it's a lot harder than it looks. So my uploads are going to be short because, frankly, there's already so much good material on a variety of issues, including fantastic astrologers, historians, everything. My intention is to put my 2 cents, or in Canada, my 2 nickels, because we don't have pennies here anymore, and try to give people a sense that they are living on a timeline. What do I mean by that? In the late 1800s, we're talking about 1892 to 1910, Pluto was in Gemini. What happened during that time? Well, a lot of those people ended up in World War I, right? But also, that's when the radio came in. That's when the telegraph. Gemini is communication. Pluto is people that are going to live something on a mass level, meaning it's not just you. You're born in a time where you're going to have to deal with that. So it's very interesting to me that people talk about how people in the past had the right stuff and were a higher quality. And I'm not going to lie to you. There seem to be cohorts that come in with different talents, but they're also in a place in time where they're going to have a chance to live those talents, because them coming in is also coinciding with the societal need. So, as someone who has studied history and astrology for the past 40 years, I've often wondered, does man make history? And I'm talking about the universal word of man. Don't come for me, I won't answer. Do humans make history? Or does history make humans? Think about that. Think about Ellis Island. Think about the people that are coming into the United States and Canada and Western Europe, and all the migration for a variety of reasons. I'm not just talking about migrant employment. I'm talking about people moving, digital nomads, people moving because of weather changes, familial responsibilities. We are in a time where people are going to be on the move, even if it's just from province to province, state to state, and in Europe from country to country. That is just starting, in my opinion. So the reason it took me so long to put this channel together was I didn't want to repeat something that was said in a much better way by so many out there. And I finally came to this conclusion that what I feel is lacking right now is astrologers at 57. I'm considered a young'un in the world of astrology, and it's been mystified, which I dislike a lot. So with this channel, number one, it is my intention to do I'd say in about 20 short 10-minute lessons, 20 times 10, so 200 minutes. I believe anyone could read their own chart, the charts of others. You know, we don't have to be an expert and have looked at 2,000 charts to be able to get something out of it. So that's one of my main purposes. And then the other thing is, not every cohort, when I mean cohort, I'm talking about people born with a Pluto. If you're on the planet, if you're an animal, if you're a business, if you're a person, if you're an event, you have a Pluto. You're on the timeline. Where are you on the timeline? So the time of birth, the place of birth is a screenshot, but the Pluto, which is a small, and it is a planet. Astrologers don't care what the astronomers in the Czech Republic said about 15, 20 years ago when they demoted it to a small, faraway, icy body. We don't care. We're using Pluto. I also use asteroids, and basically, if you are whatever age you are, so 57 is the first year of euphemistically called Gen X. It's the Pluto in Virgo people. Between 64 and 68, you were also born with Uranus in Virgo conjunct Pluto. Not everyone has that. So after 68, Pluto went into Libra. Before 1964, Uranus was in the sign of Leo. So that's why people born in the same 4 or 5 year period, they're similar but not the same. Will they live similar things? Sure they will. But astrologically, they're not the same. So my intention, my hope with this channel is to drill down. And when I post, I'll be posting who's in the hot seat, who is having an intense period right now. The second part, the second 10 minutes will have a short astrology lesson. I will put a timestamp so that if you just want to skip ahead, because people are busy, they can do so. And then the third part will also have general astrology. So the first part is who's in the hot seat, who is having a very intense turning point kind of time. Here's a hint. If you're born between 1962 and 1968, you're certainly in that period, but I'm going to drill down further. So people will say, who cares, Michelle? You know, those are people that are hitting middle age. Yes, but there's differences with that as well, because every generation is different. History rhymes. Doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme, and I think we all know that. So this is not going to be an astrology channel that's going to focus on what's your sun sign and who is your... We'll do that as well in the second part as part of the lessons. When you look at who people connect better with and how they connect, that is synastry, S-Y-N-A-S-T-R-Y, synastry, or composite charts. But let's start with understanding, where are we on the timeline? If you're 27, you know you're living something that your uncle and aunt didn't live. Fine. People say, who cares, Michelle? True. Every generation thinks that they're living in the hardest times. But I will tell you something. being part of that mid group that can see the frustrations, the millennials, the Zeds, and the alphas, these are the ones born 2008 to the present. Next year, we're going to start with those born with Pluto and Aquarius. But first things first. So every generation feels that they are having a burden because these are their life lessons to be part of that. And the real trick of astrology is you're born on a timeline, your screenshot, your personal time and place of birth, and the way the planets and the energy, strengths, weaknesses, how are they going to fit into the time that you were born in? And the reality is, there are people that seem to be more in sync with the time that they were born in. What I mean by that is, for example, there's a lot of actors, people who are involved in various entertainment, and I'll get back to that later, but I'll just give you a hint. If you go back in history, go back and look at see how things were done as far as entertainment goes between 1900 and 1927. What you're going to find is that there weren't as many big projects at that time. That was also the silent era. You didn't need big budgets. So believe it or not, and I know others have said this, we are on the cusp of the renaissance of independent small projects of film. And that's in music, that's in writing, that's in everything. So if you are a creative person, you already know. You're on YouTube or you're on Instagram, TikTok, which I'm not too familiar with, but give me a chance. You're already doing that. But no, I'm talking about something deeper than that. What I mean by that is where people will actually be able to work in that industry, but not in the same way. The days of the big Disney studio budgets where everyone came in and it had to work, those are going to be going the wayside. It's already happening in the music industry where the money is made during the touring and the merchandising. It's not even necessarily coming from the streaming. And if you look at 1900 to 1927, the reason I use 1927 as a cutoff is that is the time that it actually became more than just a few people that had the burnt phonographs, right? If you look at an old photograph or an old movie, a silent movie, you know, they had the little photographs. They had a phonograph, pardon me, with a music disc. I know this sounds ancient, but it all cycles back. So what you're going to find is less and less people will be making full-time livings in any creative industry. And if you look back at that period between 1900 and 1927, what you'll find is great musical composers, they had to either find someone to sort of sponsor them, like in the days of the 15th and 16th, 17th century, or they had to have a side job. So I think that ideal of you get the big record deal and you get all those other things, that is, I believe, already under serious pressure, and will definitely I believe the cracks are already showing. But you know, if you look down the road between here and even 2027, which is not far away, you're going to be surprised that it's going to be the end of big, because that's what Pluto and Aquarius is. Decentralization. Some will find this terrifying, others will find it freeing. Purpose of this channel is to find out what your screenshot is. What is your energy? What are your strengths and weaknesses at birth? You're on this timeline. Let's see what you're going to do about it. And I'm going to teach you to read your own chart and read for others. And I believe in 20 10-minute lessons, people can have a basic ability. We drive cars, we drive pickup trucks, we don't all know how to fix them. That's what I'm trying to do. And to give you some keys. We're in a time where we're all going to start getting the keys. It's going to be a little rough, not going to lie, and I think everybody's saying that. But I think even people who are not the type to pivot will start to feel the pressure, not just in education, healthcare, everything. Very much so between now and November of 2024, when Pluto moves into Aquarius and stays there for the next 20 years. It's an exciting time. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.